Hi, everybody. Welcome to today's live discussion about mindset and how your mindset affects language facilitation and everything else. This is a really important topic, and today I'm going to tell you about 6 different things about mindset. So I'm going to talk about what mindset is. I'm going to talk about what establishes mindset or what sets it in stone, and then also what changes mindset. And then I'm going to talk about the process that kids and everyone else goes through to change our mindset and achieve whatever we want to achieve in life. And I'm going to talk about the traps that people fall into in the process of changing their mindset that trips them up and sometimes holds them back. And then I'm going to talk about how to avoid traps in the future. So we're going to talk about all that stuff today on this discussion. I see that a bunch of people are already joining me. There's Carla and Anne-Marie and Ashley and Steph. Thanks for joining me on this live. And if you're catching it on the replay, thanks again for joining me. My name is Marcy Melzer, and I am an intuitive speech and language pathologist. And I help parents teach their children how to use the words they need to share their wisdom with the world. And I do that by teaching their parents how to use a process called language facilitation. And a big part of that process is working on your mindset as a parent and actually adopting the mindset of a language facilitator. And language facilitators are catalysts of change, I guess is for lack of a better word. We're trying to get kids to move from their current nonverbal communication patterns into using verbal language. And the reason that kids are using the kinds of communication systems that they're using now is because it is in their mindset that that is how to communicate. That's all they know. That's what they use. And in order for you as a parent to become a language facilitator, you have to help your kids change their mindset, and you'll have to do some mindset change of your own. So today I'm going to talk about what it is that causes, what about mindset and all these things that I described here for you. So let's dig in and get started with what is mindset. Okay, the first thing I'm going to talk about, what is mindset? And I've got a little visual aid here. Made some visual aids today. And so mindset is attitude plus perspective equals mindset. And what that means is literally everything that you decide, whether it's a good idea or a bad idea, or whether it works for you or doesn't work for you, all of those decisions that you make with your mind, and everyone makes with our minds, deal with these two things, attitude and perspective. Okay, so the first thing is when you evaluate anything, and I'm going to explain that by talking to you, exactly you right now who's watching this video. So because I put these live videos on my personal Facebook page, I have a variety of different people who are watching them. Thank you, by the way, for all of you. And I'm going to list out some different people. Now, first of all, I create these videos primarily for parents. So there are parents out there watching. Some of you are parents who have worked with me, and other of you are parents who have never met me yet, but you are parents, okay? So you're looking at this video. You decided to watch this video because of your perspective, because mindset dictates action, okay? And your attitude dictates what you do. So if you made the decision to watch this video right now, you, based on whoever you are, decided that based on your mindset. So if you're a parent who already works with me, you might be watching this video because you want to learn more information, or you like me, or whatever. If you are a parent who hasn't used my program yet, you might be watching this video to evaluate me, see what you think I have to say, maybe want to learn something. You might be one of my friends in my consulting group. Yesterday, I had a good friend, Scott, talk about me on his live video, and I'm going to talk about him him too. His name's Scott Reed. He's in my consulting group, and he watches my videos because he's learning how to do live videos, and he's watching me. Plus, we're good friends and we support each other, and I like to watch his videos too. And so he could be watching for a whole different perspective and attitude than a parent. And then I also have people who are my family who watch these videos. And I think they watch because, you know, I don't know, they want to check up on me, see if I've lost any weight, maybe if I looked cute, you know, now that I'm in my 50s, check up and see how I'm doing, or they're curious about what's going on in my life. And then I might have some people who are friends from college, you know, years and years ago, 20, 30 years ago, 30 plus, I guess now, years ago in college. I've got friends on Facebook who might be watching this video for a whole different perspective. So your mindset made you decide to tune in and watch me watching this right now, whatever it was that you decided, you know, for whatever reason. And it is your mindset that makes you decide to do everything. Decide whether you like something or not depends on, or whether you act on something or not depends on whether you like it or it resonates with you. And so that's where mindset goes. And it's important for us to understand mindset for language facilitation, because we're taking action here to make change. And in order to make any kind of change, you have to take action. You can think about it in your mind all you want, but it's never going to happen unless you take some kind of action. And so unless your mindset says take some action, and it's not going to, nothing's going to happen. So that's why mindset is so important. All right, so what establishes mindset is this: expectation. Okay, this is the word of the day. In addition to mindset, what really dictates mindset is expectation. And so what that means is that anytime you have an expectation about a situation, you automatically lock in your mindset based on that expectation. You can expect something is going to be great, or you can expect something is going to be terrible. Let's take, for example, the hurricanes that happen in Florida. We always try to predict as much as we can, and sometimes those expectations are real based on data. Okay, the hurricane's going to go straight up the state, just like it was going to happen last summer. We had a big hurricane came right up the state, and everybody's expected the worst. And some people ended up with a lot of damage. Some people lost power for days or weeks. And even south of Florida in the Caribbean islands, they had massive damage. But me, and I live almost, you know, near the coast, but towards the center of the state, I never lost power in that whole hurricane. Now, I sat and watched cable literally the whole time while other people had no AC and stuff. Did I have the same expectation of the worst? No, I didn't actually. I mean, I was prepared. I had battened down the hatches, and we were watching the news and taking all our precautions, but I just rode out the storm with whatever expectations I could. Now, did that result in me not losing power when other people had a lot of damage? I don't know. But what happened after the storm was I was able, because I did have power, able to help out other people and do other things to contribute to the community that other people, you know, needed help with. And so somehow the universe provided me with the ability to help out other folks because I did have power. So the thing about expectations is that anytime you expect something could happen, either good or bad, you set yourself up for disappointment, or you set yourself up for achievement. Because if you expect, okay, if I put this coin into a slot machine in Las Vegas and I expect it to hit, and you pull the lever and it doesn't, then you're disappointed. But you know what? That is what you call chance. And chance based on your expectation based on chance is never going to give you the kind of result that you want. It's never predictable. It's never understandable. But it does set your mindset in a situation that's going to set you up to be either disappointed or say have some sense of achievement, because you could suspect something is going to happen or expect it's going to happen, and then it doesn't turn out. So what ends up happening with most people in that circumstance is that when you have an expectation and you continue to work toward that expectation, and your effort is driven towards meeting only that one goal, and then that effort is unsuccessful, that means then you give up. Because, well, my expectation wasn't met and I was disappointed, and then that changes your mindset because it changes your attitude, right? So you try something because you expected it to work, and the reason it didn't work is for whatever reason, but because it didn't, then you quit trying. So the way that you actually need to change your mindset is with this, with tested results and proof. Those are the only things that are going to change your mind. And it's just like your child. Let's say they don't like to try a new food, and they don't like to try any new food. Let's say they only like to eat one thing or three things, and they're all white, none of them are vegetables or whatever like that. In order to change your child's mind about those things, you have to try to get them to try at it. And it's the same with language facilitation. Sometimes kids will try a bite of something and then go, oh, that wasn't so bad after all. It can be the most delicious thing. Even babies, the first time they try ice cream, they're freaked out because it's cold, and then they go, wait a minute, that was a good experience. Or here's another example, like when you're jumping off a diving board for the first time into the deep water, and you've seen all the other kids do it and you want to give it a try, but you've never done it before and you're a little bit afraid about it. Unless you really try it out, then you're never going to know if you want to do it. And so the idea of it being fun and you trying it out, the only way you're ever going to know is to try it. And that's the tested results. So if you're jumping off the diving board into the pool and it's a great experience, then you never stop jumping off the diving board. It's like riding a bike. You might be afraid to start to ride a bike, and once you experience riding up the street, you think it's fabulous and you never want to stop riding a bike. And that's what's great about change in mindset. But the only way that you can have a positive change, or a negative change actually, is to have a tested result. So that means that you have to try at that thing. And if it succeeds or if it fails, then the problem is the problem is understood, okay? And the thing is, when you have no expectation and you just try it, so you eliminate the expectation altogether and you just give it a go because it seems like a good idea. You see the other kids jumping off the high dive, and so you jump off too because it seems like a good idea. Now, sometimes we change our mindset based on things we try that we think were good ideas, but they turn out to be not such good ideas, like eating a big meal and then getting on a roller coaster. Maybe not such a good idea, and you sort of learn your lesson from that. And that's what mindset change is. It's all about learned lessons, positive lessons and negative lessons. The only way you're going to change your mind about something is to get some kind of proof that the alternative is different and more acceptable to you. So if you try something and it doesn't work, you've maybe confirmed whatever your suspicion was. And if you try something and it doesn't work, then you're like, all right, well, maybe I shouldn't do this again. So here's the other thing. So moving into the next phase of this discussion is, now that we know what it takes to change mindset, how does that process work for language facilitation? So remember, we're changing your child's mindset about communication. They think that whatever they're using now, nonverbal, dragging you around, sign language, gestures, iPad, whatever they're doing, tantrums, all of that, they think, because that's what is going on right now in their mindset, that is how communication works, because that's how they get what they want, however they're doing it. And you know that that's not the best system available, because verbal language is the best system available. But you don't know how to get your child to change from their mindset of this is working for me, even if you know, most of the effort is on you as the parent to actually figure out what's going on. It's still working for me as a kiddo, and I still ultimately get what I want. So, I don't have the same motivation for change as you do. All right. And this is where language facilitation is key, and mindset change is key. Okay, so the first thing is, whenever you are presented with a problem that you want to change, and this is a biggie, everybody, accept responsibility. Okay, now it might not be your fault that the circumstances are the way they are, but it is your responsibility to act to change them from where they are now into the new place. Okay, and in the case of language facilitation, you as the parent are the facilitator, so you are the one who has to make these changes. Okay, and so in order to do this, in order to make this change, you have to start with the first steps, and the first steps are to get an idea and to make a plan. And so the idea behind language facilitation is, I believe that I can help my child learn to use language naturally. I believe that my child has words inside, they have wisdom they want to share with the world, and I believe that as a parent. That's the idea of becoming a language facilitator. I know that my child has language, and I am down for the job, wanting to take it on, ready to go. And so once you get that idea, then you need a plan. Okay, and so your plan starts with basic strategies. If you're in the Waves of Communication program, you get a very detailed, structured, exact plan to give you the strategies you need to make this kind of mindset yourself. Because what you need to do in order to make this plan is to evaluate what the current circumstance is and what you want to achieve. Okay, but what's important in establishing your plan is you can't look too far ahead. Okay, so when you make your plan, the first step has to be so easy, super easy, that you can do it without any kind of, that your child can achieve that first step with no effort, hardly at all. It has to be, fun, because it has to be engaging. But the main thing is that it has to be easy. And I'm going to give you an analogy for this whole process, for the process I used to lose weight. Okay, I started out at 200 plus 10-ish pounds, and I decided that I had a problem, that I needed to make a change, and the only person who was going to make this change was me. And I wasn't prepared to sign up for the gym. I wasn't prepared to join boot camp. I wasn't prepared to do any of that stuff. But I knew I needed to make a change. So I decided, what can I do that I know I can do today, right now, with no financial input or output or whatever? The easiest thing possible for me to do to get started. And that for me was walking. And so I live in an apartment complex, and I just walked around the apartment complex. And I started by walking around just 4 times. And then I stretched out the time, and I started walking faster. And what happens is, as I did it, then I lost the weight over time. So the thing is, after you start, this first step has to be so easy. In your language facilitation journey, your child has to be able to give you the exact communication for what they want. so that you can facilitate language, even if it's nonverbal. If your child isn't responding to you, even the first step is them responding to you. So you can't expect the first step for them to be saying sentences or requesting everything as soon as you ask them a question without, spontaneously, without working on your foundations first. So that's why the first step has to be super, super, super easy, okay? And that's really all that's important. Yeah, in the Waves of Communication program, you get all your steps. But in order for you yourself as a parent to start your language facilitation journey, you just need the first one. You just need to start from where you know you can help your child learn to use language naturally. Just getting that first step, okay? And then you have to act. Act, 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 act. Every day, all day, you have to act on that strategy. Whatever it is that you worked out that is your child's easiest possible thing to do, you act on that and you watch. And you watch for your results, okay? But you have to test it. You have to test your plan. My business people, friends who are watching this, you know that this is how this goes. You have to try out your plan and test it for a period of time sometimes before you can do it. And if that activity is easy enough for your child to do, that communication that you're facilitating and encouraging them to do is easy enough for them to spontaneously do it, or they do it with your assistance, then that's where you start. It can't be hard enough. It can't even be hard as a prompt where you say this. Even though you know your child can do it, you can't expect it to happen. No expectations. We have to try the strategies and test the results, because that's the only way that you're going to see real change. Because what happens is, as you see success, because remember, this activity that we're doing is so easy that your child can do it all the time with your help if necessary, but your child can be 100% successful with this first step. And the more your child is successful at something, the more they will build confidence. So many children are way unconfident. They don't like using words because they are not confident in their ability to use verbal language. They may understand language fabulously, but they are not confident in their expressive ability because they don't, for whatever reason. They don't have vocabulary, they don't understand what's going on, for all of the different reasons that kids are late talking. But if you start your language facilitation plan with the thing that you know you can do, like me walking around the block, like you starting with just getting them to respond to their name by touching their shoulder. I mean, that's like the basic level of that. Just to touch their shoulder to get them to look at you is the easiest of all language facilitation strategies. And then they go up from there. And like I said, in the Waves of Communication program, you get your whole strategy. But the most important thing is that first step, because once you have confidence, see, here's how it goes. Once you have confidence with that first step that you're so good at it, then confidence is fun. It is the most fun thing ever. The funnest fun of fun is confidence. Anybody you know who enjoys what they do, you see me doing live videos because I love doing live videos. I love talking to people. I love explaining things and responding to questions and helping people understand language facilitation. I love it. I love talking about it. It is fun for me. And it's because I'm confident about it. Now, my friends who are in the business group who are watching me, many of you know that even a couple of months ago, even though I knew that this method was great and would help a lot of people, until I started helping more and more and more people and seeing their results, that's when my confidence exploded, okay? Because the confidence makes it fun, right? And what was hard is now fun. And that's the thing. That's what happens with language facilitation. And that's what happened with my workouts. Once I started to lose weight and look better and get stronger and feel better, I started to really look forward to those walks every day. And I also added in diet changes, and I also went to the doctor, and I even got up the gumption to join a gym when it got too dark and rainy, too early in the day here in Florida. I mean, my mindset completely changed from never working out, never going to a gym, never doing a diet, drinking 24 ounces of soda every day, to, you know, now my mindset has changed even since then, to the point where I hardly eat anything. I drink most of my nutrition, and I even have gone through supplements and stuff. I've stopped taking pharmaceuticals. I mean, I've made all those changes in my own self, because what happened is when I got confident and all of that stuff that wasn't fun anymore now is fun. What was hard, what was working out and dieting and drinking green things and all of that stuff that I never ever used to like to do, now I like to do because I like how it feels and I actually enjoy the taste of it. I mean, you know, it seems kind of crazy for some people to like those things, but I changed my mind about it. And that's what the parents in the Waves of Communication program are doing, because they are starting at square one, the easiest step, and then they are moving into the easiest possible strategy and practicing that strategy. Their kids are seeing results because they're making it easy for them, and then they're spontaneously doing harder things, because now the kids learn that language is useful for them. And now they're confident. So here I've got a family who, one of my favorite, this confidence and success builds confidence. Now I've got parents. Yet last night on my group meeting, I had a mom tell me that her son is now negotiating with her to get more iPad time verbally. You know, he's saying things like, this is a child who a couple of months ago, 6 weeks ago, was nonverbal, is now saying things like, one more iPad minute, you know, things like that, to try to negotiate. And then I have other kids who are now so good at their social communication that they used to be so frustrated and upset by it, that these kids are now making friends. They are working so hard with their own speech intelligibility and practice that they are making friends with their peers, and they're even getting bossy in one case, trying to, you know, boss their friends around. Friends who they previously were intimidated by are now so confident in their language skills that they're bossing them around. These kids are bossing their parents around with verbal language, telling them what to do, and they're dealing with that outside confidence, the extreme confidence, okay? Because here's the thing. When we have something that's fun, what was hard is now fun. And what's great is we want to practice fun stuff. Just like when you jump off the diving board and the first time you do it is great and you struggle to get to the surface and you're like, oh, that was fun, and then I want to try it again, and then you get better and better and better, and eventually you join the diving team, okay? You become expert Olympic diver, because it all started with you potentially being afraid to jump off the diving board, but now you're an Olympic diver. And that's what happens, is you practice what you think is fun, and then you work at it harder and you take on the challenges. And the challenges that used to be challenging are now fun. And, you know, a lot of kids who are late talkers really do enjoy a challenge on their term, meaning that when a challenge is fun, when they can see success, when they know how to work through it, they love it. So many late talking children love puzzles. They'll do anything for a puzzle because the puzzle is built in easy task and built-in success. It's not like, you know, there's a completion. You finish the puzzle. Woohoo, we did it. You achieve the thing. That's why people spend money to go break out of rooms and solve puzzles and do that stuff, because a challenge that is motivating, that you have the right attitude about, and that you have had some success with is fun. When they do those breakout rooms, the first tasks are always super easy, because, you know, if they made the first thing so hard, people would hate it. It's like me trying to go to do boot camp instead of walking around the block. The first step has to be super easy, or you're going to give up. Okay, and that's why that first step, when you start it, you see some success with it. If you enjoy that thing, then you're gonna want to practice it more and more and more, because now the work is fun. And you'll put up even with things that you didn't used to. Think about the Olympic swimmer who now has to get up at 5 a.m. before school to go to diving practice, the Olympic diver, to go to diving practice, but they do it because they love it, and they love the success when they win the diving competitions. They love the medals. They love that problem to solve. And your children, their problem to solve is that you don't understand what they're trying to tell you, because they're not using words. They're trying to use gestures, and they're trying to get you to read their mind. And sometimes you're wrong, or many times you're wrong. And when you're wrong, they're frustrated, and nobody wants to have that frustration anymore. So the thing is, when you get started on this journey and you make this change in your mindset, what's so cool about the families that are in the program is they have tested these results, and then they continue to see continued improvement. Now, however, and all of that, in an ideal world, that is fabulous. And for some families in the Waves of Communication program, it has flown seamlessly, until they run into some resistance, okay? And there are traps, okay? These traps that I'm talking about here, these are the traps that I'm going to tell you will stop your mindset change in its tracks, okay? All this potential improvement that you see, that you are building and gaining, and your child is doing new kinds of communication, even if it's not verbal expression yet, or you're losing weight and it's working out great, but it's not, it's not rolling as fast as you want, all of that stuff. What happens to stop that mindset change in its tracks are these things, okay, right here. And so the first one I'm going to tell you about is expectations. Expectations, just like we talked about before. Remember, mindset change involves letting go of expectations and working at your plan. But what happens is people get working in their plan and they see a little improvement. And then they think, wait a minute, this improvement should continue forever, but something happens that stalls it out. Maybe you, had a cheat day, and then you fell off the wagon and had another cheat day, and then you gained a pound, and that decreased your expectation because you were seeing really nice improvement, and then all of a sudden you attached expectation to that improvement. And you're not losing weight as fast as you did, because that's what happened to me too. I was like, well, after a couple months, I really changed my diet. I did a lot of stuff, but my cholesterol was still over 300. And there were a lot of other things about my physiology that weren't improving. And I was like, maybe this working out stuff isn't it. Maybe I should just go back to eating what I did before and all of that. And maybe that's what the problem is. But that would have been a trap for me, that expectation. And so what I did whenever I ran into those expectations, is I have to let go of them. Let go of your expectation and get back to your plan. And they put it on here, blah, 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 blah. Act, follow your plan. Get back to follow your plan. That's what it takes to do it. All right, so here's the other thing, is worry. Worry is a trap that will stop your mindset change in its tracks. As soon as you start to focus your thinking about the future, what if it doesn't happen? What if we don't see words? What if he doesn't follow directions? What if it doesn't work? Those worry things, those are going to stop you in your tracks. And that's because you're focusing on what's not even happening, because you're not focusing on the kinds of improvement that you've already made. And that's where your energy needs to be, in working every day and following your plan. Okay, and also evaluating your plan, consistently evaluating. Where's the thing that takes the change? The tested results, okay? The proof. We're never going to get proof unless we follow the plan. We're never going to get the results that we're looking for until we try at it, okay? With our strategies, with our plan. Okay, so the other thing is impatience. Big trap. Because impatience leads to worry, which leads to expectations, right? The expectations aren't working. Anytime you have expectations, the expectations aren't working. So then you get impatient because it's not happening as fast as you thought it would, okay? Which is an expectation. And what happens when you do that, once again, is you're focusing on the negative, all right? And sometimes things take time, okay? Making change takes time. If we're getting from some real area of resistance, it might take time. But if your first step is easy enough, and what you are facilitating and encouraging for your child is easy enough for them to see success with your help, then you cannot not see improvement, because you're offering your child the opportunity to experience the success that builds their confidence, that helps them learn to say language, okay? And this is true for you if you're losing weight, if you're starting a business, if you're doing anything. If you are in the process and you are impatient about the process, your focus on impatient turns to worry, and worry takes your focus away from following your plan. All right, so the last thing, especially in language facilitator parents, that we run into is comparisons. Now, the language facilitation program is open for families who have children between 18 months and 18 years old. This language facilitation method can work for any parent as long as your child meets the basic criteria that we talk about in my free class and other places. So if you decide that language facilitation is the way to go for your child, like that's the way you want to do it, that you actually want to do it, and you're in our program, you have to follow your own path. You have to follow your own journey. And when you look at other parents and you see other parents, you have to understand that you are on your own. Your own starting point is different than someone else's starting point, especially if your child is less than 2 years old. And there's a few families in the program whose kids are in 22 months, 24 months old. And then I've got kids in the program who are 8 years old. And all of those kids are starting at a different level on their language facilitation journey. They're starting at exactly where their child is communicating now. And the way to avoid these traps, okay, is with gratitude. Now, this is something that a lot of folks in the spiritual world talk about, but the way that you can, attack these feelings when they come, because here's the thing, they're gonna, and it's happening for nearly every family in the Waves of Communication program. They see some really fast progress right away because they've started with strategies that are really easy, and their kids are seeing improvement, and their kids are jumping on that improvement and doing more communication. But there are some families the younger kids especially, who their children don't have any fundamental receptive vocabulary. Like, they don't even understand what words are yet. They don't know always that this is a pen. They don't know that this is your nose. They know what it is when you touch it. They know that you blow it. They know how you use it, but they don't necessarily know what it's called, because they're late talking for a reason. For some reason, they weren't exposed to natural language in a way that they could process it and learn it, when typically kids start to develop language at 14 months is when that real awareness of words starts to happen for kids. And if your child between birth and 3 years old had a period of time between 14 months and 3 years of age where they were missing natural language, hearing it, engaging with it, because of one of the many thousands of reasons kids are late talking. If your kid wasn't experiencing language like that, then they don't have the same receptive vocabulary. They're not going to be able to spontaneously imitate words, because their little file cabinets, memory banks, aren't full yet of vocabulary. And you might need to spend a week or two really working on building some of that vocabulary so that your child can learn what to say. And so what happens with parents is they see the other kids whose kids are saying words and phrases in the first days or within the first week, which most families are. And even the families that are seeing some new words, maybe they see 10 to 15 new words in the first week. They don't see 10 to 15 new words in the next week and 10 to 15 new words in the following week. Because what happens is their kids, once they get some words in their vocabulary, in their memory banks, they start to use them. And because what's important for language facilitation is not building vocabulary, it's using natural language for the things that we need to communicate. And the main things that kids need to communicate, especially when they're real little, are limited. And so they don't need to learn tons of vocabulary to be able to start using natural language. Just like when babies first learn to talk, they only have 2 or 3 words by 17 to 18 months that they use really well. And they might use those words sometimes better than others, and they might have a handful of other words that they use sometimes. But, they're really just experimenting and trying, just like this. They are trying out words in the kinds of communication exchange opportunities that life presents itself with. And when they try those things and they get successful with them, they don't see the need to gain a whole bunch of new vocabulary, because they have to set in this comfort zone. And so this impatience sometimes sets in, where parents he made so much progress so quickly because he made a big jump from a mindset jump from words don't work at all and I don't like words to words are more fun and useful for me and I'm using them on my own. And parents think, well, how come that doesn't expand exponentially from the get-go? Because that's not necessarily how it works. And the best way to overcome any of these traps, if you feel expectations setting in, if you start to get worried if this stuff isn't gonna work because he said 10 words the first week and then the second week he only said 2 new words, he didn't lose any of those words, but he is using things, and then you start to think about the gratitude. Wait a minute. Now our family's happier and we don't have tantrums anymore. It's not new words, but that's something definitely to be grateful for. Or maybe your child isn't saying words yet, but now when you talk to them, they're giving you a vocal response instead of a blank stare. maybe now your child is pointing to exactly what they want instead of standing in the middle of the kitchen screaming when they're hungry and you having to try to go through everything in the cabinet to figure it out. Those are monumental, expressive communication, natural expressive communication attempts and successes that are building confidence in your kiddos. So if you are in my Waves of Communication program watching this, which you all should be because I'm going to make it a requirement, is that, you understand that every bit of improvement in your child is not necessarily volume. It's not necessarily even measurable on data. But the best way to see and understand this gratitude, the best way is with testing and proof. Okay, so the best way that you can get proof as a language facilitator parent, in my program, not in the program, if you're trying these techniques on your own, all of that, the best way for you to continue to keep your mindset in the gratitude mode and avoiding the traps that will stop your mindset change and stop your child's mindset change. The best way to do that is to take video of your child every week, okay? If you're working on a strategy, like trying to get your child's attention to call your name by tapping on their shoulder to start with to get them to look. If you're working on getting them to point to exactly what they want with a choice situation, whatever you're working on, whatever your easy strategy to help your child be 100% successful, whatever that is, if you get that working so well for a week, you will see a different child in that video that you take. You definitely will, because you're going to pick something that's going to be like, hey, he didn't used to do that before. And you might notice the difference in the communication intent, that your child wants to communicate with you more. You might also notice a decrease in frustration, okay, without even any verbal language. Just by doing language facilitation and modeling the kind of language that you want your child to be using, which is what language facilitation is, whenever you model that kind of language that you want to see your child use, then your child knows what kinds of things to say in those moments. And you practice with those things, and as your child learns how to use language, you'll see improvement, okay? So now your work is fun, okay? So take video of you having fun, and your mindset will change, and your child's mindset will change. I promise you it will. It is for every family in our Waves of Communication program. And even for the families, I'm going to call out Brianna on this video. I haven't even watched because I've been so focused on this. Thank you so much again for joining me, everybody. And, if you are watching this video and you are stuck in mindset, your child is just not in the mindset of even being a verbal communicator. First, you have to adopt the mindset of a language facilitator, and then work your program with your child and encourage them to see their improvement, encourage them to try with what's going on. And I really want to make sure that you, as you look forward, avoid these traps by practicing gratitude, and that's it. Now, the work that used to be hard is fun. And the main thing about it is, if it isn't fun, it isn't fun. And if it isn't fun, your child's not going to engage in it. And the last thing I'm going to leave you with is, if you want to know the perfect example of someone who is a if it isn't fun advocate, the role model, the character role model for that phrase is Mary Poppins. And if you don't know about the movie, the old Disney movie, Mary Poppins, that is a movie that you definitely should rent and watch with your kids. I'm pretty sure you can see it on YouTube. And you can watch that child and understand how Mary Poppins makes everything fun while she still uses structure, and she's kind, but she's firm. She has boundaries, and she really helps change the minds of everyone that she encounters by introducing fun. So even the most troublesome situations in life, if you turn those challenges into fun by working at them and seeing a little bit of success bit by bit, then you too can make those changes and help your child in language facilitation. I see Shaukian has a little note here. She says, "Hi Marcy, what a lovely video." Oh, thank you so much. We did see 10 to 15 words in the first week. Shaukian is in our Waves of Communication program with her 7.5-year-old son. And we had more combined words after that. The bad behaviors are going away. Excellent. No tantrums, only whining. So we're still working with that one to try to eliminate. And remember, Shaukian is only 2.5 weeks, 3 weeks now into the program. To me, be patient, matched, and give control is the key. And a lovely journey. Yeah, I still get anxious from time to time, so I need to watch this video too. Exactly. And I think that's what happens a lot with parents, is that, that worry of wondering if your child will ever talk, will they ever, and those expectations that you have. The reason that it's so important for you to give up those expectations, all that prompting, all that if you say this, you get this. The reason you have to give up all that stuff is because that's not how natural language works. And when you do give it up, then you open yourself and your child to the kind of surprise learning that happens when you see success with something, like jumping in the swimming pool the first time, that you actually really enjoy the journey, like Shaukian and her son are doing, instead of fighting over it. And when you enjoy the journey, like Mary Poppins, you can see change and have a good time with it and really enjoy your language facilitation journey. So is it hard? Not so much hard. Is it challenging? Yeah, it definitely is challenging, because these parents are working really hard to overcome their worry and frustration. And the thing that I tell them every single time I talk to them is to continue to practice gratitude and appreciate all the fabulous new receptive and expressive communication that your children are using, and enjoy the natural communication connection that you have in the real 3D world as your children learn to use the words they need to share their wisdom with the world. So thank you so much for joining me today on this video. I really appreciate your attention. And if you have any questions, I'm going to be on Thursday doing my regular live Q&A right here on my Facebook. So you can join me there and ask any questions you want about language facilitation or languages and speech and language development for your child. So until then, I'll see you all next time. Thank you so much for joining me, and have a great day. Enjoy, do some language facilitation with your kids.